Good morning, my dear students, and Assalamu alaikum. How is it there? Right, since we know we are recording these lectures in current ongoing crisis of COVID-19, so we want to give you something that you can work at home, a reason being at home so that we can study, learn, and work much harder. So for you today, we have come up with JSP, which stands for Java Server Pages. So we are going to start with JSP today, right? And we are going to see all the ingredients required to run JSP pages and all that what it takes to make JSP dynamic applications. Not today, but in the series of classes or in the concurrent classes, you'll come to know. And as you know that we always learn while developing a project, so we are going to take any live project and work on that and embed our technology accordingly with whatever we learn, and we'll embed that directly to web pages, right? So today the topic is JSP, and we are going to learn following things about JSP. So you can take this as the agenda for the current class. Now, what is JSP? It's a technology that allows developers to create dynamic web pages, right? Number one, it's a technology that we use to create dynamic web pages. Dynamic web pages like as that of Facebook, you comment, you get respond, where website talks to you. It's not static, you change the state of the page, and something that you already know. Right, and the prerequisite for the current class is you guys are already aware of database, JDBC, and of course core Java, right? And the main thing about JSP is that you need to know that JSP page consists of the following components that we are going to take a look at. So theoretical will come as we progress and as we go ahead with practicals, and I'll be defining theoreticals and making files as usual and uploading files as usual so that you can download them in the near future, right? So shall we get started? All right, so to get started, I'll go to File, New Project, Web Application, and call this as JSP Class 1. So I call this project as JSP Class 1, and imagine this is going to be your a root for the website. Root means the main folder which will contain all the required and essential files, libraries, and whatsoever we may use in the near future. All right, so JSP class 1, I'll say next, finish. So we'll have to wait unless it finishes. All right, so the first thing that comes in front of you is an HTML page, so which we will very politely delete because it is no longer required, right? Because we know that we develop static websites using HTML, so which is no longer required. So I'm going to delete this. I'll hit delete and say deleted. Now this is your web pages folder, which will contain all the JSP extension pages, web.inf for all the website related information like deployment descriptor, web.xml file, and everything that is required as a metadata. Source packages will contain all the Java files with .java extensions, whether you use them as models or controllers. Libraries you guys are already aware of. For example, we have to use MySQL. I'll say add a library, search for MySQL, and use MySQL JDBC driver as a library, right? Or maybe you may use SQL Server. For that, we will install SQL Server library. And configuration files are more related to the application part, means the server part of it, not the application part of it. It's basically for the server. So what are the requirements before we start with the Java server pages? The requirements very well start with, you guys should already have a web server. Why do you require a web server? Rendering. Web server is required for rendering purpose, right? Because the browser understands HTML. We require someone to convert the dynamic data and take dynamic requests and convert it to HTML, okay, and convert the source code which is written in Java back to HTML so that it's clearly understood by the browser. And the web server we'll be using is Apache Tomcat, or we can use Glassfish, or we can use JBoss. Whatever you feel like using, you can easily use those classes, okay? Those web servers. All right, so option number 2, you should already know Java SDE, that is Java Standard Development Environment, or Core Java you call it. And number 3, you should be aware of JDBC, that is Java Database Connection Technology. Number 4, you should be having NetBeans, right, pre-installed. So the version of NetBeans that I'm using is 8. You can use 9 as well. All right. So these are the prerequisites. So you should have these ready before we start. All right. Let's take a look at our pages. So the first thing that we are going to do is click on New. JSP. We know a JSP page is something that has a JSP extension. So I call this as index, right? Now this is my first JSP page, right? And here is how the JSP page looks like. So why JSP, right? Why not servlets? So why JSP, why not servlets? Number 1, in JSP we embed Java directly to HTML, whereas in servlets, right, in servlets, or I just forgot to write in servlets we embed, right, HTML to Java. So that's why it's being very hectic, because even if you have a single tag, let's say even if you have an h1 tag, right, you still have to basically do a system.out.print of it, right? So which is why we use JSP now. In JSP we embed Java directly to HTML. In servlets we embed HTML to Java, right? How do we embed HTML to Java? Because we have out.print, right? So we do out.print and embed whatever Java code we have to, so whatever HTML code we have to write, right? And in JSP we can embed, in JSP we embed Java directly to HTML, right? How do we embed Java directly to HTML? As directives, as declarations, as scriptlets, as expressions, as actions, right? So let's take a look at all of them. So and let me start with scriptlets. So these are scriptlets, right? So starting with less than ampersand and closing with ampersand greater than sign are known as scriptlets. And why do we use scriptlets? As I said, embedding Java code inside HTML, right? For example, if I have h1 here, h1 tag, and I have closing h1 tag right here, okay? You can see it here. So I can say int I is equivalent to 10 and int j is equivalent to 20, and I will say int sum is equivalent to I plus j, as simple as anything. And I can say out.println sum, right? So I am printing it within an h1 tag, right? So you can see right here. So let me start this and show you this practically. And you have to remember it forever, because we'll have to be prepared for interviews as well. So while we go ahead and in the concurrent classes, we'll take a look at everything that is required for, or that's required for you, or that's required for qualifying interviews, right? So something that you require to qualify interviews will be taught alongside all the classes of Java, right? So now you can see this. You have to always now remember these are scriptlets. And why do we use scriptlets? Right? Scriptlets is used to put all the Java code inside inside HTML tags. So you can see we're getting 30, and the 30 is displayed within H1 tag, right? So isn't it great? Isn't it special? Right? We haven't done system.out.print, or we haven't done out.print of entire web page, right? So no, we have not done that. Now another thing that we can do in scriptlets, right? So we can we can call classes, we can call anything. Let us take a look at declarations as well. Now if I say a function, let's say about string, or we can say public string, or we can say public int add. Alright, so this is, now you can see that scriptlets won't take declarations, right? You cannot declare in scriptlets, right? For that you have to use another, you can see it here. For that you have to use another component which is called as declaration component right here. So I'll use the declaration component just by putting this mark ahead of it. That's it. Now what is this? Right? This is called as declaration. So I will say, for example, this add takes int I and int j. So I will say return I plus j. So whenever I call this function add, I have to pass two arguments, and I'm returning the sum of those two arguments back to the function. But that was not possible in scriptlets. It is possible in declarations. Now if I take this exclamatory mark, you can see we get an error. So declaration requires declaration component, and expression requires expression component. I can do out.println, and I can call add and pass two parameters, 10 and 20. What do you think the result is? 30, right? Okay, and what is expected right here? Okay, let me write it again. Out.println add 10, 20. Alright, so I save this and I run it, and I get 30. You can see I get 30, and I also get hello world, which is coming from this h1 tag. So I'll get rid of this. Okay, now what have we understood so far? Okay, these are, yes, these are declarations, and these are, so this is declaration, and whatever is inside this is scriptlets. So scriptlets we can use to call, right, and write code which does not declare, or the code that does not declare variables or functions, right? Sorry. Okay, that does not use that does not declare functions. Okay, let's carry on with this. Okay, so this is declaration and this is scriptlets. And what is the third thing? Expressions. Now you can see that instead of writing out.println, I can go ahead and say is equivalent to sign and say add 10 and 20. Right? Isn't it simple? Add 10 and 20. That's it. So let me see, what do we get? And we still get 30. I can change the number, 210, which is 210. Right? And now this is the short form for, I'll write it down here. It is basically the short form for out.println. Not ln, out.print. Right, so it's the short form for out.print. Alright, so I don't have to use this. Okay, it's a short form for out.print, right? So is equivalent to, just you have to open expressions, or we can say we have to open scriptlets and put is equivalent to sign before that and write add. Okay, so this is the short form for out.println, and these are known as what? Please, what are these known as? Expressions. Exactly right. So these are known as expressions, these are known as declarations, and these are known as scriptlets. So I'll just put it in front of you. So this is scriptlets, all right, understood. And misspelled words, so I don't know. So these are scriptlets, so these are in comments, so it doesn't matter, comments are ignored. And expressions, and here what are these? These are declarations. All right, so I hope you understood. Please take a deeper look at this. Declarations, expressions, and expression does not take terminator, it will throw an error, and a single expression takes a single statement. For example, if I have to call another function, for example, if I have another function subtract, right, so I'll say I minus j, and I cannot do that in a single expression. I may have to call a different expression for that, so I'll call subtract, right, and it's going to be a different expression right here. So I cannot do I cannot call both the things, and I cannot print two things in a single expression. That's why I require another expression, and expressions are not to be terminated, right? So this is an interview question, and this is also an exam question, that do we terminate expressions? No, they're not meant to be terminated, right? All right, so let's carry on. These are expressions and these are declarations. So I'll give you the rough of this also so that you don't forget. All right. Okay, so this is what we call as declaration, and this is what we call as expressions, and these are scriptlets. All right. And what do we use scriptlets for? I know that you're watching a video. Since you cannot ask questions, you might have many questions in mind. Please WhatsApp me if any questions. Now, if the question is why do we use declaration? As you know, how are we able to create a function without a particular class? So in case of JSP, your page is going to be considered as complete class. That means the class name here is index, and we're creating, right? Can we declare class here? Yes, we can even declare class inside a class, but that is not recommendable, right? So I don't recommend that, right? And that's not how good developers should do all the things, right? So that's not recommended, right? But we can, yes, we can. But what do we take class as? I can take class, my class name or my page name as class, right? So here index is the page name and it's taken as the class name. Okay, fine, good. Let's carry on. Scriptlets are done, declarations are done. Why do we use declaration? Just to declare anything. Why do we use scriptlets? Right, to write all the code except from declaration. Why do we use expressions? Just to use the short form to print out or to echo and print anything that is required to be printed, like we're printing here 210 and 190. Or we can do this also, the sum of two numbers is this, and hit a BR, which is the break line, and the sub, right, of subtraction, or the minus for two numbers is minus 190. So I'll say 10 minus 2, which is 8, right? So you can have an is equivalent to sign as well here if you want. Right? Okay, So the sum of two numbers is 210. So that is why I said at the beginning of this lecture that we can embed, right, Java directly to HTML. You can see that HTML is here, right? HTML is here, and we are doing everything within an h1 tag. So I can get rid of this h1 tag here. Let us get rid of this, and let us do it in a div right here. Alright, so let's take all inside a single div and another div for this right here. Alright, now we have embedded, you can see this. Okay, let's get rid of the BR here. Alright, we have successfully embedded Java. We have successfully embedded Java to HTML. That's why I said at the beginning of the lecture that we can embed Java directly to HTML, right? So let's take a look at more things. So what is done is comments done. Yes, we already seen comments. Are directives done? No, directives are not done. Declarations are done. Yes, declarations are done. You can see them here. These are declarations. Are scriptlets done? Exactly, scriptlets are also done. So these are scriptlets. All right, and let me show you another example of scriptlets right here. All right, so I can say, let's say about int I equals, if I say only int I can do that. I cannot declare a function here. Int I is equivalent to 10, I is equivalent to I plus 1, so I'm doing an increment, and we can write out dot print. So whatever we write in Java, we can write here in within scriptlets. Okay, is scriptlets done? Yes. Expressions, guys, what are expressions? Expressions right here. Okay, and these are expressions. We use short form for out.println. And actions, implicit objects. So let's take a look at all the implicit objects. I'll show you only few, and then the rest will be shown in the concurrent classes. Okay, where can we open scriptlets? So wherever you want. I'll go in the body section. I was in the head section, but yeah, since if you are printing something, it is recommended to do everything that you print in the body section of an HTML page. So in our case, let us say what are the implicit objects available. Now what is implicit first? Alright, because the word is used as implicit. If you remember in Java, when we use servlets, we used to do something like this. So print writer, or I'll do this in the source code. So print. So you can see this here. Print writer out is equivalent to response dot get writer, and then we used to do out dot println. So this is not okay. This is not an implicit object. You can see this, right? It's not an implicit object, right? Because we had to create an object of the print writer and then use that object to print. That means we used to create object explicitly on our own. That was not already there, that was not ready, right? But here we are not going to create those objects because they are already ready. I directly say out.print. I have not created any object of out.print. I have not created any object of print writer right here, right? So these are called as implicit objects, which are pre-made, pre-prepared, right, and are given by the Java, and those who are ready, right, ready for use, right? Or just like we have ready-made garments, they're ready to use. We just get them, wear them, and go out. And another is session, right? So you can see this session dot set attribute. I'm doing session dot set attribute, and I can use key and a value pair to set any attribute. Fine. But in servlets, what we used to do, we used to say http session is equivalent to response dot get session isn't it? So we are not going to do that here. Session is ready. These are implicit objects, right? Session.get attribute, session.set attribute, right? So first, second, and the third is okay. We have session. We have many implicit objects that we are going to see as we go ahead with the class, right? So it's just a test. I don't want to give you too much to work at or too much to think for, right? So practice this and let me know if you have any questions regarding this class. And before I wind up, I'll give you the recap of the class, right? So you have to note the following. Number one, you have to note that every JSP class at the end gets converted to servlet. That means automatically every JSP class at the end gets converted to servlet. And then you'll ask me, what is the fun of using JSP? Why don't we directly use servlets? And it all depends on you. If you are UI savvy, right, and you want to design very good applications, you want to have nice and clean UI, you can use JSP because you don't have to do outdoor println every time. But if you are well versed, you're a professional, you can start directly with servlets. But yeah, JSP gives a little edge over others when it comes to presentation logic. You can develop a presentation logic, or you can develop it in such a way that you basically use both of them. You can use servlets and you can use JSP together, right? JSP and servlets can be put together and used together, right? And but you have to know that every JSP page gets converted to a servlet at the end. Number second, that a JSP, right, page it's specifically designed for it's a UI technology that we use right? And all the professionals, we know that we have scriptlets, we have declarations, but all the professionals who know how to use Java classes will use JSP just to develop UI. They'll not use JSP for Java code and everything else. That we'll see in the concurrent classes, inshallah. Right, so that's it for today, and the file is to be prepared. I'll be preparing this file and inshallah sending it to you, but it's a very little file. Let's test this class and let's see if you understand it, right? And let me know if you have understood everything, and if you're not, if you require any change in the next class. So I shall be grateful to know, and I shall abide by and give you, let's say I'll value your time and give you valued classes, inshallah. Bye bye, take care.